Hey there. So, my next guest had not originally thought he was going to go into the esports world. He actually thought he was going to do music first. But while he was doing music, he actually attempted his first tournament that he tried to organize. And as he'll tell you, it was an utter disaster. But it gave him a starting place and it really inspired him to kind of get into this world and learn it and develop. And he's been able to rise to an incredible position. It's really cool interview. I know you're all going to love it. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have David Morse. Hey there, David. How's it going?
I am doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
It's a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about yourself?
It's actually a sunny day out here in Western New York for once. Usually it's just gray from November until March. So
I get that. Although I can kind of see out your window there, it's just blinding white. So I'm assuming there's snow on the ground.
Yes, a lot of snow.
I remember that image of windows. Yep. All right, David, I like getting the show started just right into it. So why don't you begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. So I'm 23. I actually just turned 23 2 days ago. So that's
congratulations, cool. You made
Thank
it.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. I know, right? So I am currently a full-time college student at the State University of New York, Fredonia. I'm a video production major. But I am also full-time the vice president of the National Esports Association. I am officially the vice president for gaming and development, esports producer, and director of technology. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but it definitely keeps me busy all the time.
I love it. Does that fit all on your resume, or you got to abbreviate some of that?
I have to have 2 lines. 2 lines. Yeah.
All right. We have a lot to talk about. Before we do, though, I start every interview with a single question. So I'm going to ask you, just like I ask everybody else. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, David?
I would probably say 7 to 8, somewhere in there.
And why would you say that?
A few reasons. I think I'll start with the more popular reason, like music selection. I don't like pop music. I don't like rock music, like any of that sort of stuff. I like video game music, believe it or not. That's what I listen to most.
And then I don't think that's all that weird in this space.
Okay, fair enough. But whenever I get asked what's your favorite type of music, I always have to say, well, it's complicated. So there's a couple of YouTube channels that just post nothing but game music, and that's my jam.
I had the Ocarina of Time soundtrack back in the day.
Yes.
I had the Pokemon soundtrack, the original Pokemon soundtrack on CD when that came out. So I'm right there with you.
That stuff is going to be classics in the next few years, if it's not already.
All right. So speaking of video games, this is the Gamerpreneur podcast. So I do need your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
So, oh my gosh, I would say probably when I was 4 or 5, honestly, much to the displeasure of my parents. Every year for Thanksgiving, we go down to my aunt and uncle's house in West Virginia. They have a huge house on a hill, big enough to be a bed and breakfast. And we'd have probably 30 people at the table for Thanksgiving. And my cousins would be there, and they had a Nintendo 64. And Mario Kart 64 was like an Olympic sport to us. That was the first video game I ever played. I became instantly obsessed with it. That was the one thing I was looking forward to every time Thanksgiving rolled around. And it sort of started from there. So I guess family is actually what brought me to playing video games.
I love it. I've played every Mario Kart ever. And I look at the new ones. I'm like, gosh, it's such a beautiful game. The tracks are fantastic. But 64 still holds that special place in my heart.
There's just something about it. Yeah. It's so simple, yet it was such a giant leap forward, not only for Mario Kart, but for the gaming industry as a whole.
Absolutely. All right. And I'm assuming your love of games continued since.
Absolutely. I lost a lot of school time in high school because of Minecraft.
All right. And what do you play today now, if anything?
It's funny. I actually don't get a lot of time to play games on my own anymore. But when I do, it's with friends. Right now, it's Valorant, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Among Us. I mean, that's sort of the trendy one right now. Yeah, sort of those oddball games like that, but not so much the mainstream games.
Those, I'm fairly certain they're all mainstream at the moment still. All right. All right. If you had to pick one game as your all-time favorite, which one is it?
Minecraft.
Minecraft. How long
Yep,
have you been playing
it's
that one? Because I think I got that like 10 years ago. Like,
yeah. I've been playing it for 10 years. It was still in inf dev when I got it. It's one of those games that really can last forever, just because there's no right or wrong way to play it. It's up to
sure.
you entirely, and I think we've seen that with sort of its how big it got on YouTube, 2012, 2013, then it sort of rolled off 2016, 2017, 2018. But the last couple of years, it's come back, and not many games can do that. And I think Minecraft is a perfect example of one of those timeless games that really never gets old, depending on what you do with it.
For sure. I think it's like the video game version of Legos, right? Legos will
Absolutely.
always, kids are always going to love Legos. And here's Minecraft. It's essentially the same thing. It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get over to the preneur part, the business side of things. That's why we're really here. David, I know you're still in college and all that, but can you kind of explain how you got into the National Esports Association?
Absolutely. So actually, ironically, it was me dropping out of college. So this is actually my second school that I've been in. I was originally at the Cleveland Institute of Music. I was a music major. I was there for a little over a year, and I just realized it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I dropped out, went back home, and I was sort of in limbo for a few months. And my boss, the NA president, Lori Bajorek, was running sort of esports camps at a local nonprofit, just down the street from me, actually. And I had a friend who actually worked for her the summer before, running some of the summer camps, and he said it was a lot of fun. So I was like, hey, may as well reach out and see if there's any job openings. And as it turns out, there was. And I've been working with her, oh my God, it's going to be coming up on 3 years already. And when the National Esports Association was officially founded, I was just sort of right there to enjoy it. So I've been there since the beginning.
Okay, and what did you do at the beginning? Have you been doing the same thing the whole time?
It's been sort of an evolution. So when we first started, I was just running the Minecraft server. That was what I was originally brought on to do. I was the director of Minecraft program, which is the best title ever. So I was just basically creating a Minecraft server. But then eventually, once the National Esports Association really started to grow, we were organizing our first live in-person esports tournament, which was a Fortnite tournament at Elmira College. And being a video nerd and sort of a production background, I had to basically design what everything was going to look like, how it was all going to run. So that was my first big jump into the esports production scene. And from there, it's we've been doing more and more live events. Obviously with COVID, that all sort of just went down the drain. So we had to pivot almost immediately to online esports tournaments, which is what's really been our bread and butter for the last year.
For sure. Yeah. Could you break down a little bit of what the NEA is? I want to make sure we talk about that real quick.
Sure, absolutely. So the National Esports Association, we sort of like to see it as one of the not, out there to just make money esports companies. We're really there to make the gaming experience better for the gamers. So being a nonprofit, we really put a lot of our knowledge, a lot of our time into bringing gamers together, creating positive gaming experiences. One of the things we like to say is that we bring in everybody. There's no barriers to being in our community. And for example, one of our tournament series, our Mario Kart series, is actually just finished up yesterday, our third season. It's really a community of professional gamers, and we have some Division I Mario Kart players in this, some of the best in the world, along with people who have never touched Mario Kart before or never tried to play in a tournament before. So it's bringing together both the best of the best, but also those people who don't really know how to get into it or are just sort of interested in what it's like, bringing them together, letting them learn from each other, and creating a unique community that no one really else has tried to do before.
I love it. All right. And what's your role again with the National Esports Association?
So officially, I'm the vice president for gaming and development, esports producer, director of technology. So I handle pretty much all of the tournaments themselves. So I organize them, run them. I do all of the live production for them. I currently operate the website. I do a little bit of the social media, some of the graphic design, some of the stuff like that. So it's a lot of the behind the scenes work.
Okay, and what was it like getting into this position? Because your background was music, right? And now you're full on the esports. Had you ever organized a tournament before you? And like, how did you learn how to do that?
Yeah, so it was funny when I was actually in music. I tried to organize a Smash tournament on my campus, and it was a complete failure. So yeah, so no, having having the team that we have really has helped because obviously I'm not alone. But so I was a music background, but I also was a video background. So in high school, I was heavily involved with video production at my school. So I had that background already. So I always try to plan events based on what the experience is going to be like for the audience. So obviously you watch some of those huge tournaments like ESL and stuff like that, and you can see it's very well produced. And I think having a good production background makes it a lot easier to run an event like that, especially for the gamers, because they know exactly where they need to be. They need to know what they're doing. And once you get them in their chair, they're just playing games. Everything else is sort of magic to them. So being able to plan things really well and have a really good team behind you is incredibly important, and has really made possible what I've been able to do.
Wonderful. Now, what are some of the challenges you've had to overcome in growing into this position?
Absolutely. Everyone's saying it, but COVID has really shown me what the difficult parts are. Because obviously if everyone's in person, it's a lot easier to work together and solve problems and whatnot. But having to be working remotely a lot, it's really about solving your own problems and solving them immediately, because obviously things go wrong when we're trying to run an event or whatever, and you have maybe 5 minutes to solve it. And what we like to say is that things may be completely exploding in the background, but to the gamers, everything's fine. There's no problems at all. It's all great. So it's sort of creating an illusion there, but it's just about making sure everything is always right on for our gamers, and everything, nothing ever seems out of place. It's always us on our end. So problem solving skills, stuff like that. It's been a learning experience.
Beautiful. All right. So, David, part of the purpose of my show is hopefully someone somewhere is watching this and they're listening to you talk and they go, wow, that sounds really cool. I'd like to maybe be able to do a position like that in an esports organization somewhere. What kinds of skills do you have? What kinds of talents make you good, in your role? And then what advice would you have for someone looking to follow in your footsteps?
Absolutely. No, it's great that people are interested because esports is now $1 billion industry. So there's always going to be a need for more people to get into this industry and get things going. So sort of my skills are, I'm a techie. So I've always been fascinated. I love building computers. I love, video production workflows, things like that. So sort of pretty nerdy things. Knowing how to run a live stream, live graphics, graphic design, music, channeling of audio and video, things like that. If you really want your productions to be, top of the line, it's all those little details that you have to figure out and plan in advance. And a lot of it comes down to like literally drawing out a workflow on a piece of paper. It comes down to that, because if you're not organized, you're gonna, like, especially in the age of Zoom calls, people are like, oh God, where's that music coming from? I can't find it. Having those issues, you got to be able to solve those pretty much instantly if it happens. So really having a knowledge of audio, video, graphic design, and live streaming are absolutely necessary, especially in the esports world, because everything's virtual. Even before COVID, almost everything was virtual in the esports world, especially for all the people watching. So having those skills are absolutely necessary.
Okay. From the organizational standpoint, it's a nonprofit. How does it earn its money? How are you getting paid to be able to do this?
Yeah, so luckily I don't have any financial background, so I'm not responsible for any of that, which is great. But the details that I do know are that we do often work with a lot of colleges and higher learning institutions out there, and we will help to run their esports program. So we have a monthly, or I think it's yearly, a yearly membership program for those colleges. So we'll run tournaments for them. We'll do webinars, provide resources, help them build out their esports labs if they like. Things like that. So it's really a service-based membership that we have with those organizations that really help to foot the bill for most of what we do. Our public events, those are often pay for entry, which we're trying to actually reduce because we want to try to eliminate those barriers. So we also offer a membership just for anyone out there, any gamer out there. It's $10 a month, and it gives you access to pretty much every single public esports event we have, as well as other services and programs that we're actually working on right now. So we have a development team that's working on some pretty cool website stuff, and a brand new tournament management system, and a new live streaming platform that we're working on. So it's funded mostly by the large entities, but we do have programs for individuals as well, and all those funds get put right back into the programs.
Okay, fantastic. Now, on your end, if you could go back in time and you could go talk to little David back when he was first figuring out how to run a Smash tournament for that first time, right? And you could, take him by the shoulder and like, look, here's everything that's going to happen to you over the next couple of years. Here's all the knowledge I've gained, all the good, all the bad, ups and downs, everything. In order to be able to show him how to grow his life bigger, faster, better. But there was one thing, just one thing he absolutely had to know. What would you tell yourself?
That's a great question. I think it would be simplicity is king. And what I mean by that is me 5 or 6 years ago when I was trying to do something like this, or do sort of like an event, just like at my high school when I was running a video production event. I always tried to go like way off the rails, just make it as incredible and crazy as possible, but I've realized that trying to do that, especially with our earlier esports events where, it was our very first few. So we didn't really have like a good rhythm yet. I realized that simplicity, keeping things as simple as you can, the highest quality possible is definitely the right move, because if you try to go off the rails a little too much, you're going to run into problems at the last minute that'll just break you down, make you panic, give you stress. So having things as simple as possible is definitely the way to go. I mean, our tournaments are literally turnkey right now. We just have to type in a few things and we're ready to go. So okay. So simplicity is definitely the key.
Okay, on the vein of this being a show that I'm trying to get advice into the hands of my audience, what are some of those things that popped up that you weren't expecting? That way others can I need to keep an eye out for that.
Sure, absolutely. I think this is still a problem that we're trying to fight right now. But when we're doing our online events, communication with the gamers is absolutely necessary. And I think what we've seen is that when we give instructions for how to join the lobby for the game or whatever, we give it to the gamers assuming that they'll basically understand what to do, but we write that from a standpoint of, okay, we've done this a million times, so it's like second nature to us. So making things as easy as possible and having to write things out pretty much verbatim, it's not something that we're used to when we're doing things like this. So we have to keep in mind that there's always going to be those people out there that just need a little extra help, and trying to make things as accessible as possible.
Okay, wonderful. And I bet, once you've written it up once, you could use it in the future.
Exactly. But it's that writing it up the first time with every single little step to make sure that there's no possible way that someone can mess it up. That's the hardest part. And if you can nail that down, everything will be much easier going forward.
Okay, I love it. Now, David, I'd like to get a little bit more personal if possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I believe that we learn the most in our life from our failures, not necessarily our successes, because when you succeed, you may not know what happened. It just kind of worked out right. Like, hey, right. But when you fail, you got to take a look at it. You got to go, oh man, how do I move past this? Figure that out and then do it in order to succeed the next time. So I'd like to ask you, what do you consider your biggest failure in life? And what did you learn from it?
That's a good one. I think, no, it's fine. I think not so much a failure, but I think just one of the lowest points in my life. And I'm not going to go too depth in this, because this could turn into a 3-part movie if we wanted to. But this was February 2019. We were planning a sort of a nationwide Fortnite tour event, like a live drive around the country sort of thing. And it comes to be the last few weeks of January, and I start feeling slightly sick. And I sort of shrugged it off. And I won't go into the details of it, but 3 weeks later, or 3.5 weeks later, I was in the hospital for emergency surgery. And spent a month in the hospital in that February, went back that summer, was in the hospital for 7 months. So I think I'm not going to keep going into that down that path, but I think understanding the value of life has been absolutely incredible for me. I mean, I had never had to deal with anything close to that ever before in my life. And I think it really put into perspective that life is short relative to everything else going on. And I think that we just I need to make the most of it.
Okay.
So, doing like running these esports events, running these big, large scale things is something I'd always dreamed of. And I realized, okay, I just got to go for it. And since then I've put all my energy into this stuff, and it's become bigger than I could possibly have imagined. So I think just experiencing hardship is it's the best learning tool.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, David. On a more positive note, what is something that you're working to improve on in yourself today?
Time management, definitely. I have a tendency to procrastinate on things that need to get done. Don't we all? But I think balancing the work side of my life with the non-work side of my life, because I have a habit of just always wanting to work, putting in a lot of extra time, and that sort of takes away from just hanging out with my friends or whatever. And I think trying to find that happy medium is something that I've been working on for a long time and will still need to work on for quite a long time.
All right, fantastic. One more question, then we'll bring this in for a landing. All right.
Sounds good.
At the beginning, you said much to the chagrin of your parents that you were playing video games. How do your parents think about what you're doing now?
Well, now that I'm making money on it, they're fine. But no, and not to crash on my parents or anything, but they were never that supportive of me playing video games. I mean, the first console that I ever owned was a gift from my aunt and uncle. So, and much of the time it was, no, you need to be going to do your homework or, go play outside or whatever. And I'm like, but I have to play this game. So it's definitely changed now that it's something that I can clearly do and manage on my own. It's not going to take away from, education or whatever. Things have completely changed. So now they're completely supportive of it. And the fact that I'm using my background and my skills to help other people is definitely a win, and they definitely see that.
All right, I love it. David, this has been a fantastic interview. How do people find you? Where are you on social media, the NEA, all of that, please?
Absolutely. So our website is nea.gg. We were, I think, one of the first to get the .gg domain when it was first becoming a thing. So our website's there. That's where you can register for all of our events, sign up for our newsletter, all that good stuff. We are on Twitter at esportsnea. Our Facebook handle, I think, is the same thing. Snapchat as well. We have a YouTube channel. It's some crazy long URL, so I'm not going to read that out. But we are live pretty regularly at twitch.tv/esportsnea. And we also have a Discord channel that's linked on all those platforms as well. We have a great active community. So that's the place to find us and hear about what we're doing.
Fantastic. All right. As we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts you want to share? Anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
I think I just want to reinforce that esports is $1 billion industry, and there's going to be a slice of that pie for everybody. So if anyone out there has any desire to sort of get in on this industry, there's always opportunities to do so. So don't put that dream aside.
Beautiful.
Go for it.
David, thank you so much for coming on with us today. I genuinely do appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.